Do you want to bring balance to all the wireless radiation fields in your life, including 5G? The OMNIA Radiation Balancer is a small sticker you can stick on any device. It changes the state of the field and creates a new resonance between the wireless radiation and your energy field. On the link below, you'll see all our testing results that show how the body responds excellently once you've made this change in your life. And here's a special offer for the Journey to Truth crowd. Just enter the word truth in caps at the checkout for your 10% discount. It's easy to bring balance back to your body with the OMNIA Radiation Balancer.
Hey guys, welcome back to Journey to Truth podcast. Tonight we are joined once again by Peter Maxwell Slattery. We've had him on, 2 years ago on New Year's Eve, I think?
A year and a half
ago. Two New Year's Eves ago, we recorded with him, and it was an amazing episode, and it's been looking forward to having him back on. And before we get into that, just a couple updates. We have 420 sale going for Hopewell Farm CBD that actually starts with the premiere of this episode, and it's a 7-day sale. It's going to go from Thursday to Thursday, and you get 20% off all CBD products with promo code JTT420, and that starts right now. So if you click the link below, you should be able to get 20% off until next Thursday, until the premiere of next week's episode. And what else do we have? Oh, so as many of you know, our episode with Ken Rolla last week got removed from YouTube because that's just like par for the course with him, apparently.
Yeah.
A lot of his information.
Too much truth.
Yeah. So that episode is on Rumble and Foxhole and obviously all of our audio platforms, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and a whole bunch more. If you guys are looking for that link is on our, will be below in this video also. If you guys want to check that out, it was honestly one of our new favorite episodes. We understand why they took it down, put it that way. But hey, we're not going to stray away from doing what we know we should be doing just because in fear of getting censored, because you can't do that. We got to get the message out. Anyway. So welcome to the show, Peter. For those of you guys who don't know who he is, he's an experiencer, contactee, and author, a million other things. He's making a feature film right now. He's filming that. And he's got some of the most incredible footage out there. I'm sure plenty of you guys have seen it. It's really fascinating stuff. It's incredible footage. Actually, it happens all the time and it never ends for him. It's just, I think it's in his soul contract. Because it's not typical for everyone to just get as many UFOs on film as you have. So welcome to the show, Peter.
Thanks, gentlemen. It's good to be back on and to catch up with you again.
Yeah. Great to have you back. I guess you want to just kind of let people know what's been going on as far as you being stuck over in Australia. And I know you're working on East City, Australia, and that's I'm really excited about that actually. And we can just go from there.
Yeah, it's been hectic. We were talking a little bit beforehand just with the way the lockdown was for a while. Queensland, which is the top sort of right-hand state when you're looking at the map, they've actually, I don't watch the news, but I saw a post recently from a news place online that they had to, it was mandate to wear masks. So that was something that never happened up in Queensland. That was recent, but we had pretty severe lockdowns, but not as bad as the UK. Jason Gleaves, he's over there, and just talking to him, it was pretty severe, and it still is pretty severe, the lockdowns that they've had. But we had it pretty intense in the state of Victoria, which is where I'm located, for probably about 6 months. There was a couple of weeks break where we could go out again a bit more, and then all of a sudden something happened. So, another heap of cases. So they locked things back down again. But it's been good for a while, being able to get back out and move around, see family and friends. But I'm missing, coming over and seeing James and the ranch and everyone else over that way. So it's that sort of sucks at the moment, but all in good time, things will change, and they got their plan and God Creator's got his, and just got to go with the flow.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having you back over here for next conference or whatever it might be. That's a bummer to have the travel restriction. I can't imagine being trapped somewhere like that. But like you said before we got on camera here, it was a perfect time to go within and really do some work that we kind of are too distracted to get to sometimes.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. I wrote a couple of books, did a documentary in that time. A lot of hiking. I'm in an area that's just got lovely mountains and pine trees, and I'm sort of in paradise in a way. So especially now, I've just got 6 acres, and I'm setting up JA Sanctuary, which is the home of ECD Australia. So I've put it under JA Sanctuary. Got a stone circle, pyramid meditation area. Got a bit of got a dam, fire pit. It's just a lot of land working at the moment. Just on the land, planting trees, getting into nature. As well as doing my readings every day. So sort of half of the day is doing readings, the other part's going out and just getting things done. So hopefully by springtime here, which is about September, October, I can open up and start holding events and self-mastery and ambassador workshops and things of that nature, and really get into the inner work. It's something where it'll be private invitation only, very similar to James's place. And smaller groups, because I rather having the smaller groups so I can really get into it with people. But that way we can sort of have stronger contact, stronger work going within, mastery of the mind, things of that nature. I'm a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, and also teach remote viewing in different disciplines. So it's something that is been years in the work. What I'm doing now, but also about 13 years ago, I started having visions of what I'll be doing. And here I am now doing, or about to really step into it as well. So it's quite exciting, but it's just a stepping stone on the journey.
Yeah. And I saw some of those pictures. It looks beautiful out there. And
it does.
It's going to be exciting. I hope it all pans out. I know it will. And hopefully things open back up and we can all head over there and check it out.
Definitely. I'll look forward to having all of you guys over here. So it's just something, like I was saying, at the moment, Australia's sort of like in a travel bubble thing, even in between states. And I think they've got a COVID passport starting up, or it started between states, or they're trialing it, and then Australia, New Zealand travel bubble, and then one between us and different parts of Asia. So forgive me, I've probably had a bit too much coffee this morning just with everything going on. So I'm a bit jittery and
you're fine. Yeah. You're fine. So something you mentioned in your classes, you're talking about mastering the mind. And that's something I want to get into tonight, because this is a war for our mind right now. And that's the biggest struggle I'm seeing for myself and around me. I don't even know how to put it. It's confusing. It's confusing for a lot of people, and they are pumping this propaganda, and nobody knows what to do about this vaccines. There's just psychic attacks, there's spiritual attacks, there's, everything, all of the above. And I just, the hardest thing to do is get out of your head, if you want to heal. And I just kind of wanted to touch on that. And in your book, Shiji 3, you talk about the reptilian brain and why we think the way that we do. And I just was wondering if you could touch on that.
Definitely. Now, with that said, through the interactions with Shiji on that material, it's quite interesting because it's getting very complex, and it's sort of, in my own way, answers a lot of why things are the way that they are, which is really, when we look at everything, it's one consciousness interacting with itself, even the negative aspect. And it's not that I endorse the Luciferian, any of that stuff, but what it does is it goes, hang on, I'm not putting up with this crap. And if you raise your frequency, what happens is it no longer affects you to a certain point. There's a fly buzzing around, so it's not a black orb or anything like that, if you saw that. So with that said, it is a war on the mind going on. But what's interesting with the material, and in effect with what I was just saying, lower vibratorial things, in effect, make us look at ourselves as a reflection of what we do and what we don't want and what we want to achieve. So therefore, we raise our frequency. So what I call the lower light, or Shiji refers to me as the lower light, the lower energies, in effect, it helps us raise our frequency. Again, I don't endorse what they do, what's going on, none of that. Now, interesting doing some research with this as well later on from the Shiji material, and at the time of those contacts, is we've got the R part of the brain. It's actually scientifically called the reptilian brain, or the R part of the brain. There's another name for it as well. It sits pretty much next to the pineal gland. Now, this is where we get triggered, where people get triggered and they lose their crap, anger, fear, lust, greed, negative sexual energies, all these different things. It's where it's triggered and it comes into fruition. And scientifically, when they're monitoring the brain, that part of the brain lights up. Now, Shiji, from the material, if I remember this correctly, I think it was 300 plus thousand years ago that she said that was introduced to the Earth human. Now, later I come to find out, scientists don't know, can't agree on it, but some say 13,000 years ago, some say 100,000 years ago, the R part of the brain was introduced to the Earth human.
Really?
Now, apparently what happened was that the reptilians, they actually had short custodianship of Earth for a while after the Lyrians were here, and it was to sort of give them a go. Now, of course, there's many different types of reptilians. Predominantly, we find that they are negative beings. I know from one experience that they're saying that they're trying to change their ways because they can't evolve, like factions of them are. I'm not talking about the collective, but there was an experience where this was relayed to me. All it was a teleportation to where they were. Basically, they told me that, and then I was teleported back, and I'm like, what was all that about? It was very weird. I was told to tell that to people, make of it what you may. So from Shiji, when I'm looking at it now, I'm understanding that it was 300 plus thousand years ago. They lost the custodianship because of this, that they introduced the R part of the brain to the Earth human. And that's when Atlantis and Lemuria was started after that time, which were Pleiadian colonies, but later Atlantis got manipulated as well. Because Atlantis and Lemuria, there was sort of like a war that started off in time, but they got along together for a couple of 100,000 years. People just think it was a quick, short period. No, they were here for a while. They got along. Now, what it is that the R part of the brain is a trans-dimensional device that when lit up or activated through being triggered, it sends that energy into what we could say is the artificial intelligence to feed that grid so the lower light archons, demonic energies, reptilians can stay behind this veil and keep doing what they're doing. Now, the archons, we go back to the Nagamati texts, I believe, and they talk about serpent beings, reptilian greys, distorted energies that are these energies. But from my understanding, at the echelons, the highest expression of the lower light network, archon network, it is actually the fallen Elohim. Now, this is where it gets complex. There's different variations of Elohim, and predominantly they're positive. And predominantly when I'm interacting with them, it's the highest expression that you can possibly get, which is a cell of God's body. So if you imagine my body as God, and each cell that makes up the body is our highest self, our oversoul, that is an Elohim being. And if you now imagine that Elohim self as, let's say, the octopus's head, and each tentacle is different lives coming off that we're experiencing at the same time, this is where you'll start to understand the material, because reincarnation is illusionary. And people are like, whoa, all right, that's going to break everything that we know. It broke everything that I knew. But what I'm trying to tell you is every saint, sage, and master, and through the extraterrestrial material, not just mine, but others, they all say that everything's happening at the same time. The thing is, reincarnation is a linear concept to understand that we have more to ourselves than what we think. But it's actually multidimensional mind where everything's happening at the same time. That if we start looking at that, we start to come to the real concept of what's really going on.
Wow.
So what we've got is a situation where with the material where this is where they say, look, fight or flight is happening in the R part of the brain. But then I've got a question. How come going back to cavemen, we had fight or flight and we didn't have the R part of the brain there? I will say it's exacerbated and accelerated and amplified through the R part of the brain, but it's purely not fight or flight. We had it with or without it.
Yeah.
So this is, I sit there questioning this stuff. Nobody really thinks to even ask me that question. And I understand, but this is where, even with the material, and I guess James and my brother and others get frustrated with me because I hold on to a lot of material. I tried debunking it 10 ways from Sunday. Even my own photos, videos, evidence, I try to make it stand up to scrutiny because extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. And at the end of the day, people are going to believe or not believe. And the problem is I don't want people to believe. I want people to know. And it's a very hard situation with that because we're actually in this situation because of a blind belief system. So it's really, when we're looking at that R part of the brain and how it operates and how it works, and it's a transdimensional device, this is where it is a war on thought right now. And what we've got is a situation where the extraterrestrials, celestials, angelic energies, they can read you like a book. This is the thing, that when you're in their presence, you really don't even, by the time you go to ask something, it's already answered. They know everything that you're thinking of, that you've done, that you thought about doing, the positive, the negative, but they really don't give a crap. They've got love, compassion, non-judgment for you because they see it all. But what people aren't aware of is just like the angelic, celestial, extraterrestrials and positive beings can read you like a book, so can the lower energies. And what they do is they go, oh, you did this 10 years ago. You don't like that. You want to forget about that. And you put on a mind loop with it. What if this happens? What if that happens? I call it what if mentality, where we sit there stewing over something that may or may not happen. And we end up feeding it. And sometimes we manifest it. It's all happening in the R part of the brain where we're triggering it.
Wow.
So this is where being the observer of our thoughts is a key to this. And it's actually a key to connect to God's mind, which is your mind. And through an observation exercise, which I do 40 minutes to an hour of it every day, plus a few hours of other practices that I'm doing, you start to realize that through observation is really a key to connect to God's mind. And from there, you're accessing the unified field. And it's as simple as something that if people are watching now and if they want, close your eyes just for a minute. And what I want you to do is think about how you're perceiving my voice, how you're observing my voice right now. Now, we can say scientifically that the frequencies coming out of the speaker are hitting the eardrums and the hairs in the eardrums, giving the voice. So you're hearing the sound wave and you're hearing my voice. But forget about that. How are you perceiving and observing my voice? And what happens is you start to notice you're actually out here and a pinpoint of your awareness is anchored into the body computer. Because that's what this is. It's just a biological computer. So you're really out here with the pinpoint of awareness anchored into it, which your light body's here right now. We don't need to achieve the rainbow light body. We've already got it. It's just reattaining it and reconnecting with it. We've already got that. And I can explain that later on. So this is where observation is key. When something happens, you can get triggered. What happens? The R part of the brain kicks in and you feed that energy. Or you got another choice. You observe it. You could react, but why not just let it go? Let it go. And what happens is scientifically, the more that you train yourself doing things, and no matter what it is, you actually start to create new neuron pathways in the brain. And over time, instead of reacting automatically, you start to observe and then you'll go the other direction. Mm-hmm. So what's happening at the moment, people's neuron pathways are designed that when you get triggered, you yell, you get anger, you do whatever it is that you do that's not productive because you're operating on that bandwidth. But what happens is when you start to observe that and go, hang on, I'm not going to feed this. And you're acknowledging, first thing is 80% of the way there is acknowledging what I'm talking about. After that, the other 20% is observing it when you're getting triggered and letting go and diverting the thought. Even like I say to people, even thinking of it like a rainbow unicorn when you're getting triggered. It's funny, but like what it does at the same time is you're not going to go down the normal path of losing your crap or responding in a negative way. You start going another way. So I know I've gone on a bit of a rant here, but I think it's all sort of it brings so many different pieces of the puzzle together when I'm talking about things like this. It's not just what I say, black, white, we've got beyond 50 shades of grey, a little bit of a joke there in the middle. So it does get not complicated, but it's layered, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense. And I think, how you said the ETs already know what you're thinking. I'm pretty sure you're an ET because you were answering every single one of my questions before I could even ask them. I had stuff written down and you just covered everything. No, it was actually, you touched on a lot. And if people can understand what you just explained, then it's going to help them navigate their life so much easier. because as soon as you become aware of your thoughts, you can actually control yourself. Control now. You have control now to where you may not have had that in the past. One thing I'm confused on, you talk about the lower light and the reptilian. So is the lower light and the reptilian something separate?
It is. It's a network.
Okay.
So it's like beings of the light. You've got beings of the light. Now, what's happening, I don't think I've talked about this much before. So how do I explain this? All right. So everything's consciousness and awareness, which goes into a vibratorial state. Sound creates light, and light creates physical matter. So what's happening is, as we go out within Source, God, Source, Creator, we're actually going from being everything to choosing to go to a plane or frequency or dimension. So you start to vibrate. You're not light yet. You're just an aspect of God. And what happens is you start to vibrate and boom, you pop into light. Now, this is what I would call the angelic celestial light realms, or predominantly I call it the geometric light realms, because there's a hell of a lot of fractal geometry and light going on like a kaleidoscope. Now, what's happening is all the colors in that, basically it's like a rainbow, but times it by 100. It's like very huge in different variations of colors. There's intelligences in there. Each color also has an intelligence and awareness. When we pop into that, we actually carry all those frequencies and energies. It's basically where our light body is created from a vibratorial state, popping into light. And then that light body is what encapsulates and overlays the physical body in your experience. But the thing is, all your lives, like I said, they're happening at the same time. The one Merkaba that you've got at that point is the same Merkaba for each life that's happening at the same time. And what happens in one life, all that information is going to all the other Merkabas that's having other lives. This is where it gets complicated. Now, what's happening is the lower light are a distorted version of that light. They're a lower, it's like they're a dim light of that version. That's why a lot of the time, and I'm not saying all the time, but like Shadow Man, all those types of energies, wispy balls and that, a lot of the time they're predominantly dark. What's happening, and it depends on the lighting when things are happening. I've had positive beings come in, but they almost look like a greyish dark mist, but it's the way that I'm perceiving it at the time with the lighting in the room, things like that. So what's happening is these energy, we could say the lower light network, the Elohim, the fallen Elohim, or what we could say is at the top of it, they didn't want to go back to Source. That's why they created the AI. They didn't want to go back to Source because they became godlike down here. Well, in effect, the reason why we left Source was to gain knowledge and have experiences for the overall collective. So when this cell rejuvenates, like a cell in our body rejuvenates every 7 years, it redoes it, but it won't repeat the same things. But what's happened is that got screwed up because these energies wanted to stay out from within, we could say, the blueprint. Because see, what happens is we get to a point where once we get right back up, we've got a choice. We can be an ascended master. We can do whatever the hell we want, like meaning being of service, experience what we want. But we also have a choice to divide like a cell divides in two and create our own universe with the own Elohim and do what this universe has done. Like I've been shown all this. I had to stop at that because I couldn't comprehend anymore. Yeah. And even later, they've tried to elaborate some things. And I'm like, this human mind is not going to digest it. I know it here. This ain't going to get it. So what's happening is that you've got this lower light network that we could say archons, demonic energies are a part of it. But then the reptilians are they're a frequency match for the lower light, where a lot of us, we're more of a frequency match, not just to extraterrestrial, which to me aren't even 5% out there, but more the celestial energies and going beyond, which is why we interact with them. The way it's been shown to me is that because of that frequency match, the reptilians are very easy to manipulate and work through. So a way I can explain it is in some of my experiences, the lower dimensional beings, which are still higher than us, they will take me and they'll take me to their frequency. And then I will get out of my physical body in some cases, not all the time. And then my consciousness goes to the higher realms while the body's stationed in that frequency. So in effect, what's happened is to work in the lower dimensions, easier for the Archon network. They will overshadow the reptilians and the reptilians will do the lower dimensional work for the beings that are behind them. So in a way, it's like we'll say the Archons and the lower light are the masterminds behind robbing a bank. But what do? They're planning it. They're not going to do it. They're going to get all the proceeds, do everything. They're going to get the reptilians to do it. And so if they get caught, everyone's going to point the finger out, it's the reptilians. They're doing it, but what's behind them?
Mm-hmm. Well, the same is happening to even humans, even a lot of not just the reptilians. Obviously, this is happening to humans also. So basically, what you're saying is that even the dark is manipulated. It's and it's so. Where do we go? How do we return back to a point where we can get above that?
It's by just letting the go of it all. Mm-hmm. Letting it go. It's something that I've had to come to terms with, which is through the practices which really help. Like one of the things, like years ago when I was on television, I wanted to shout disclosure from the rooftop. Wanted to tell everyone about it. I was ignorant. I was stupid. Why I say that is because this reality's always been here. And what I didn't realize was really the media, the cover-up extent that was going on. And then I got to a conclusion going, no wonder 99.999 whatever percent of people don't believe me. One, they haven't experienced it. Two, if we knew about it, it'd be on the news. Three, they might not be open-minded enough to absorb this type of information. And so it gets to a point where we can only change what we've got control of changing and allowing others to be on their journey with what they're doing. So what I'm saying is the key to this is letting go, being responsible for you and your thoughts and being productive in a way that's beneficial for you and being of service. Everything else doesn't matter. It's like little petty arguments you see normal people having, and it's not putting just the average person down. But once you're awake like us, and it's not, we hear about the woke community, it's a joke. But what I'm saying is you're woken up to these other realities. It comes to a point where it's like people are where they're at, and this ascension is for everyone, but not everyone is going to get it this time around, and they're not meant to, because their soul evolution and journey, they're meant to stay in this frequency longer. And it doesn't mean the next time that comes around, or if they've done the inner work, they're never going to ascend. They'll ascend when they're meant to. It's like this shift. Ascension, it could be not attaining, but reconnecting with the rainbow light body. It could be going to another dimension or a new earth. But we're forgetting as humans, we're here for the friggin' human experience. I think this community's forgotten that. I want to be in the fifth dimension. Well, how's the fifth dimension helping you now?
Thank you so much for saying that.
I'm sick of hearing about the fifth dimension. Like, you are here to experience, to help uplift the frequencies here. There is nowhere in the universe that you can touch, hug somebody, kiss somebody the way that we do here, that we smell the roses, that we feel the breeze on our skin in the air, that we experience love and the things that we do. I don't care if it's another third dimensional civilization, you can't experience it like you do here on Earth. And the strongest souls are here at this time, because once this civilization and even you independently in the body computer wake up, we can actually do things that even the angels can't do. They're actually gleaning parts of our light body, incorporating with theirs, because we've got capabilities, across the board transdimensionally, that nothing else has. There is nothing like us throughout this universe. So this is why things are harder at the same time, because emotions are heightened. Of course, the other part of the brain doesn't help. Love is not felt like it is here. Like, we talk about the love of source, and that's beautiful and everything else like that, but we've got to bring it back down to earth. That's what I'm saying in this community. We've got to bring it back to the earth. It's like, what are you doing today or saying today that's going to help not just yourself, but others? What are you doing to raise your frequency? If you want to be in the fifth dimension, well, then you shouldn't have come here.
Yeah.
Because you've already done all that crap before you've got here.
I absolutely love that you're covering that. I say that all the time. I said, we are here for the human experience. That is why we're here. Like, I've even said, like, I can only imagine myself someday on another planet, like, talking about our time on Earth. Like, man, remember how fun that was? Like, even though it was crazy, I think that we need to embrace what we have here and not be so hard on ourselves, because what happens is these people break away from their religions and all this stuff, because there's a lot of shame and guilt there. But then you get into this awakening and it's no different. People are still feeling guilty for eating a certain way or doing a certain thing, and they're forgetting to even be human. They're so worried about achieving this heightened consciousness, or
it's all about trying to get somewhere else than where you are.
Yeah.
And then you're never anchored into the present, into this body, and you can't affect.
I was going to go there.
Yeah.
You've got it.
Yeah.
You have, this is the thing, right? It's being in the present.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it goes over that wall with the mind that we're talking about. When you get back to the present, I find that this, and I get this for so many clients that I do readings for, so like not everyone, but it's very often comment from their guides or the beings that they're working with or their higher self that they've got to come back to the present. That's where they're magical. And another thing is too, to help override what we're talking about, this war with the mind, is I think this community, and not just the community, but the whole globe, what are we doing to bring joy back into our lives and love? Like, I make sure, and you'll know, I don't know, I've met you guys before, but when me and James together, or even when I'm with family and friends, half of the time we're telling jokes, we're laughing, we're bringing joy, and we're playing music, we're doing whatever. Where is that gone in people's lives? I find that when people wake up, they get serious because it's like, oh my God, nearly everything's a lie that we know. Of course it's serious, but it's like, why people don't have contact a certain way is because if you're, like John Vivanco says, if you're not operating on a good frequency, it's literally, you might as well be throwing a brick at them.
Yeah.
So if you want contact, first have joy, but also have joy for yourself and your loved ones. And that really is what can override this war with the mind. It's simple, but it really is simple at the end of it.
We forget to have fun, and we forget what happiness actually is, because we take it too seriously. And I know from experience, I did exactly that when I first went through all this. I started taking it very serious, and I became someone I didn't recognize, and I had no balance in my life. And I came from a heavy drinking, partying lifestyle, and I didn't know what to do. I was just sitting by the fire one night, and I just went, and I had quit drinking at the time, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And I went and bought a 6-pack, and I just drank a 6-pack by the fire and brought myself back down to like reality for a minute. I'm not advocating that, but I had to remember who I was. I was lost. I had gotten to be somebody I didn't recognize. And it's really just trying to figure out what makes you happy and have fun again and bring that inner child out.
Yeah, and it's like passion is purpose as well. And this is very common. Like so many of us are waking up, go through something like what you just described, because what happens firstly is like people wake up, and I see it all the time, and it's like everything's love and light and fifth dimensional and everything's good. And then all of a sudden, a few months into their awakening, it's like, I'm losing friends, I'm losing family, everything goes to crap. And it's like, that's meant to happen. And they're like, what? And I'm like, well, unfortunately, this isn't talked about. It's meant to go to crap first, because what's happening is you start purging all that which no longer serves you, but you sort of go back and forth in between for a while to realize what's serving you, what doesn't, what's productive, what's not. And then you sort of come out of it, and then you start, that's when you start the journey. Mm-hmm. That's just almost like the door opening, what you're describing there. And that's what it becomes obsessive. I've seen people wake up. Now, when we talk about this, people waking up, some might do it through a UFO experience or being part of a conspiracy or reading about a conspiracy, going, what the hell? And then they find out that it was true, and it opens those doors. But I've seen lives lost and people's lives destroyed from, being obsessive over researching super soldiers or the Illuminati and all that. It's like, I'm not saying don't be ignorant and not aware of those things, but be aware where you put your focal point of attention, because what can happen is, especially if you don't know clearings and how this war works, what happens is if you go in unarmored, you're starting to go down in frequency because things are aware.
And then it affects you when you're, you nailed it. That's the key to everything, is realizing nothing negative can affect you if you vibrate above that. It's all about your frequency. So if you're stuck in fear and you're stuck in, oh my God, everything's crazy and controlled and we're being manipulated and attacked and everything else, which is true, like you said, it's not that it's not true and you can be aware of that, but it's realizing the power lies within you. And if you can awaken to that, you realize it's not about that stuff. Like none of that can affect you as long as you're vibrating above that. And then you're going to attract only, the match of that vibration into your life.
Well, and also well said. And also to piggyback off of what you were saying, as far as you mentioned super soldier, for example, just like being consumed by the rabbit hole of what you're researching.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see a lot of people do. And that's a way of giving your power away. You're letting this external information consume you.
Mm-hmm.
You give your power away to it. And that's what you're talking about. You get sucked down with it. So it's good to know about it, but don't become obsessed with it. And I think if anything, this past year or two has taught us that none of that actually matters. None of this stuff actually matters except for.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Going within.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off there. Yeah.
No, go ahead. So
this is what I'm saying is like, there's stuff to be concerned with and stuff not to be concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many people are worried about ascension and what's happening globally at the moment. There are things that are going to happen, whether we want them to or not. Now, unless, this is the thing, I've been talking about a slow disclosure rollout for many years. But the thing is, if we pulled our crap together collectively, we could actually transform this civilization within a nanosecond.
Yeah.
But that ain't going to happen at the moment. Like literally, if we all meditated for a minute, the whole globe dropped our barriers and just got into a love frequency, we could transcend this. But it's not going to happen. But with that said, what we're going to do is take control of what we have control over. There's so many fighting within this community. You'll never see me hit back at people. James sees that, everyone else does. I don't have time for that crap. If people knew how busy I am, I don't have time for it. I want to help people, and that's what I do on a daily basis. I want to get out in nature. That's what I do on a daily basis. I've got the contacts happening when they happen. I've got stuff going on all the time. It's like that's where my joy and bliss is, and that's where I'm productive. That's where I'm making a change in the world. And no matter if people think they've got abilities, not whether they've got a purpose or not, purpose and passion usually are entwined, and it's finding that individually. And that's what matters, and looking after your family, your friends, your loved one. All this other crap just doesn't matter. Like whether it's on the news, this, that, whatever. The elite have their plan. Like I said, God's got his plan, and God's got this, in my opinion. We're just going through the motions. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
Totally.
And something you said in your book, Shiji, the third one, you said the storm that's happening right now is happening to all beings on all dimensions. It's not just happening to the human race. And I found that very interesting, because I thought it was just us that had to go through that, and like everyone else had kind of already done that.
No, it's everything affects everything. This is the biggest experience I ever had, is what you do affects everyone and affects everything. I was in tears from it, because it showed me everything that I haven't done. In the experience, I was shown everything I've ever done to someone and everything they've done to me. And so I saw it from everyone's perspective, everything wrong I've done to them. Like literally in a nanosecond, it was just bang, like really quick. And then it flipped it around, and I'll say it because it was, I haven't spoken about this experience before, but it's too intense for me to talk. It's very beyond anything that I think most people can perceive. And it's not, I'm saying that because, I'm enlightened or anything, but it's really hard to explain what had happened. But we're talking into angelic God consciousness communication where this happened. And so what we've got is a situation where, we've got all these beings in the high dimensions and they're all operating, okay. But you know how I said before, like there's a tentacle offshooting in that life. So you got the oversoul in this life here. Well, what's happened is almost like at a standstill, because what's happening everywhere else because of the lower light and in effect what's going on, some of these beings this aspect of them can't get to the next level of where it's meant to go. So there's almost this stagnation, and we're almost like a cell of cancer to the other universes. Now, what I mean by that is the experience where I was shown the blueprint of everything, what was happening was I think I explained it to you before. I was shown everything as a dodecahedron, like minuscule going big.
Yeah.
And I got to the edge of this dodecahedron, and they're like, this is God, your universe, with all its planes and dimensions. And I'm looking out, And I can't tell you how many other ones I saw. And it was like all the universes, all the gods are a cell of a greater intelligence. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't. That's why I couldn't go any further. I'm like, this is enough for me to comprehend. But what's happened is this universe is almost like a cancer cell on the rest of it at the moment because of what's happened. And everyone, even from the other gods, the other universes, have come in to watch what's going on. But not only is it detrimental and very concerning what's going on here, but the impact of what's happening here is actually going to spark a seed within consciousness. That super consciousness that encompasses all the other gods. It's only recently that I've sort of put this together. It's actually going to ignite us to go through its own ascension on the God level.
Wow.
Yeah, but what's happening here just hasn't been done anywhere else like this. And it wasn't that we could say it was meant to happen, but it wasn't planned to happen like this. So this is where you do have a certain amount of other civilizations through the ERC, the Elohim Representative Council experience that I had last year, where they showed me there is civilizations out there they're on the same level of us about to go through their ascension step.
Mm-hmm.
But again, not all of them are going to go through it, meaning all the beings on each planetary body. But what's happening is that's what's in our neck of the woods on our frequency. Each galaxy has got its own thing going on, but then all the other beings in the other dimensions, they've got their shift happening as well. And their shift concerns are different from the concerns that we've got in our shift in consciousness. Because as you evolve, there's different things to worry about. There's different things to experience. So I hope this is digestible because it's convoluted. It's very entwined. And this is the stuff that I'm dealing with on a daily basis in terms of having contact about, communicating about, thinking about while I'm around on the property, planting trees and cutting grass and whatever, that it's sort of stuff that you normally can't talk about with the average person or even some people in this community because it's at a different level from where they're at, and rightly so. It's just where they are and where I am. But it's I hope that answers your question anyway.
It does, and that fully resonates with me. And I actually share a lot of the same thoughts. And I think it's really interesting you called this universe like a cancer cell, because Ivan Teller actually says the same exact thing through the information he gets. He was like, our universe is almost like the bad neck of the woods. It's kind of like the bad neighborhood right now.
It's like Compton back in the 80s.
Yeah.
You don't want to come in this hood. Yeah.
But it's really interesting because the first time I heard that was when he said it. And then now you just said it again. And I really think there's something to that because, once we, I guess, reach source or whatever, when we ascend enough, we can split and create our own universe, essentially. So I think that like it's infinite what the possibilities are. And I think it's even possible that like right now I can be me here, but I can actually be simultaneously in an entire planet somewhere else at the same exact time. And I just like, that's the one thing I've come to realize is I've had sessions and readings and QHHT, whatever. And I'm finding out I have all of these lives. I'm living all these lives simultaneously. And it becomes very confusing and it's almost overwhelming, but it makes me realize that I don't know shit. And I just think that you're right. It's really hard to comprehend that we're living so many lives at the same time. And it doesn't even mean like we can even literally be a planet.
Yeah, well, this is where some of these intelligences, like on a soul level, yeah, you could be doing that 100%. But to give people a concept and idea of this, it's like some of these intelligences, when I'm interfacing with them, like whether I'm filming a craft or I'm physically in their presence, like just say it's a craft flying by, when I'm interfacing with their consciousness, they can actually see what's going on in a whole suburb or a city simultaneously through the person's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't deal with that. I know that we know all this on a God state, but like on a human mind, it's like, that's pretty fine. It's enough seeing what you're seeing now, let alone what 30, 40,000, 100,000 people are seeing simultaneously. And even sometimes when I'm filming the crafts, I'm seeing myself filming the craft from their consciousness in my mind's eye. So when I'm doing stuff, I'm seeing the beings in my mind's eye, showing me stuff when my eyes are open. I don't need my eyes closed for it. This was developed over a long time from the contacts, but this is where it is what you're saying. Like I'm just trying to give examples of sort of dovetailing on what you're saying to elaborate in different angles that this works, how we not only can we interface that way, but we have different layers of ourself that are coexisting, that are doing things like being a whole planet or other, whatever it is. It's really the sky, beyond the sky's the limit when we're talking about things like this. And this is the thing, right? These beings see us as light majority, not all. What I mean by that is they know that you're having a human experience, but they don't see your hair, your eyes, your teeth, your skin. They see your light body, and they see everything in this frequency, that your room, your computer, everything. They see it all structured from light. But they see your light body. They acknowledge the light within. That's how they see you. They don't see you as a physical being. But again, not all of them. So this is where they're operating in different forms, in different ways, depending on the form of intelligence. And we are multidimensional beings, but predominantly in the Earth human experience, we have to operate in a linear way. Because what's happening is, even when we've got communication, it's literally like I say lately, it's like I've got a jigsaw puzzle. Each piece is a bit of information. Most of the time with contact, it's like they're just throwing it at you. And you get bits and pieces, but because it's not linear, you don't understand it. Where the way that I've been trained and operate through the contacts, I'm able to pull it back for a second and go methodically with it so I can digest and articulate the information. Otherwise, it's just blasé.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love this conversation. Actually, this is the stuff I think about a lot, actually. And it's stuff that you realize that you can't just have a conversation with anybody about, like you said. So I really appreciate this, and thank you for sharing everything. I mean, you honestly don't even need us here. You could just keep, dropping all this knowledge, and it's absolutely fascinating to me.
I love talking to you guys. It's an honor to be back on again. So I appreciate it.
And I like.
Same, man.
Yeah, we're obviously we're glad to have you back. And I think that something else we need to remember is how powerful, like we were talking about thoughts, but how powerful our thoughts are, and imagination. Like we're taught at a young age, like imagination is kind of it's not
fairy
real.
tale.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But from what I've been practicing, even like you can, what you imagine is real. It can become real. That's how manifestation works in a sense.
Well, this is imagination from God.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So what's happening, the way I describe it is, we're told that imagination is fairy tale. But first, we manifest through thought. And what happens is that interfaces with the unified field. As above, so below, what you're putting up here, through whatever ways, starts to manifest in the physical. So this is where, what thoughts do you want, and what seeds of thought do you want out there to grow and flourish? Do you want positive seeds, or do you want negative things that are going to bring darkness to you? Mm-hmm. So this is a situation where this is how we manifest. Abundance or love or joy in our life is having a positive mindset. And when you're operating in that, what you do is you start projecting positive thoughts, yes, desires, things you'd like to do. But the biggest thing is being a vehicle for God and having gratitude. And you get those things. You're not going to get those things by just being by yourself and doing things, being of service for self. So many people I've met when we've talked about this, they give everything, like it's like they're doing well and abundant, but they give more than what they've got. And they bring this cycle of abundance coming because they're giving and helping people that are lacking or don't have, or they need this and they've got it and they don't need it, so they give it to them. They help their brothers and sisters with open arms and do whatever. So this is where not only just thinking, but also acts of kindness and doing what you can for your fellow men and women. This is where it's sort of like, it's a little bit of both. You've got to be operating on that wavelength in terms of in the physical, but then what you're doing up here and projecting into the blueprint, the unified field, that's where things start to come to us as well. And this is why I say, be careful what you think. And I really mean that. It's a cliche saying, but when people go on to have contact like you and this and that, I'm always thinking, I don't know if you can handle it. And two, do you really want it? Because things will start to happen. Mm-hmm. Things will start to happen, and it's very life altering. Some people can handle it, some people can't. So there's this thing where imagination is creation, but through teachings and social engineering and epigenetics and upbringing, we sort of get this doubt in there, or these claws from other energies in the past, or high dimensional energies trying to bring the energy back down. That's when we start manifesting darker things, because I don't have self-worth and all those types of things. So just be careful what you think. And of course, imagination is creation.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And I heard something a few years ago. I don't even know how many years ago now, but it was, I was listening to a YouTube video like I did at the very beginning of my awakening. They were talking about the chemtrails and the power of our thoughts. And like, all you need to do is imagine a dome over your home or over your city when you see the chemtrails, and imagine when the chemtrails hit that dome, they're transmuted into love. And you've already solved the problem in that area just by your own thoughts. And if you really believe that, you can actually change it that way. And I've done that ever since. I don't know if it works or not, but I do it. When I see them, I just kind of create this dome, and maybe it's helping, maybe it's not. And another thing I can agree with, as far as the people who want to contact and maybe you're not ready for it, the very first contact experience I had, the overall message was, you're not ready yet, So, and then, things get quiet after that. And I had to realize, no, I have a lot to work on before I can even be striving for contact, because that's not important. I have what's going on in here is what's important.
That's the main thing. And this is where it's really child's play contact. And people like Pete Slattery saying that it is, once you get past that and you realize actually what we're a part of and what the extraterrestrials are also going through self-mastery as well. They're doing it on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the way it's been shown to me is just say the bottom 5% is however dimensions of extraterrestrials there are. I don't know. And people are going 9, 10, 13, whatever. I think there's many more layers than that. But once you break through that, you go into what I call imaginary realms, like we're talking about. And that's probably the next 90%. And then you go through what I call the geometric light realms of vibratorial state and then source. So that other 90% makes what we experience through being extraterrestrial experiences, it's really child's play. And what they're doing is they're experiencing those other realms as well. So what they're trying to do is uplift us to their level so we can start experiencing those other levels so we can get back to source. So you're doing this loop of losing yourself. This is what gods do. We're all gods. We lose ourselves to refine ourselves. But our experience and knowledge is going to be different and for their own individual soul journey and soul purpose. So it's it can be quite amazing, but also a lot of people wouldn't be able to function fully at the same time if they had some of the stuff with me. It's full on for me. It's very enlightening. It's very scary at times with the negative stuff that we've talked about that happened in the past and things like that. So it's a mixed bag, but how you get through it and how you come out of it, that's really what matters, and what you take from that. What fruit do you take from that, and how do you impart that on yourself, and most of all affect others with that and be the light in their life as well.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing about this whole ascension, right, it's not going to be some major event like we kind of thought at first. I think it really comes down to the individual. Now, I'm not saying some event might not happen to help nudge us or push us along. Actually, you mentioned something in the book about humanity coming together and doing something unimaginable that they thought was impossible, but something that we created because of who we become. I mean, I don't know if you want to touch on that experience at all.
The way I can describe it is this is very laid, that what comes from that is this explosion of change across the universe is the only way I can describe it from a transdimensional to a linear way. What we do here ignites that shift that we're talking about. And it's almost like we could say like a solar flash from humanity's love, ripple effect, 360-degree transdimensionally throughout everything. And that's what I can say on that, because there is solar events that are going to happen, 100%. There is many other events that are going to unfold, and we're seeing earth changes. I think it was the last few days, apparently, I saw one YouTube thing where apparently there's 40 active volcanoes at the moment that are starting to go up. A couple of them are major. And what we're seeing is these new energies coming in from source, which goes through the galactic center. It affects through electromagnetic tunnels all the stars, our sun. Those energies then ripple out and affect all the local planetary bodies. And what you get is the tectonic plates changing. The earth is receiving these new frequencies, raising its frequency, and you get these earth changes. So there is a ripple effect, that there's not just one event, but there is an event that that Shiji parted to me and spoke of, showing me that there's like this ripple effect that happens from humanity coming together. Again, because it's like a component of not just spiritually, but physically what we are, that when you join the two or merge it and there's acknowledgement of it, it's like bang, a huge shift on the way. And there's going to be some trying times, especially in the next 10 years for us all. But the thing is, and I keep saying God's got this, but this is actually all meant to go down the way it's going down. I don't endorse the homelessness, the poverty, the negative things that are happening, that in the economic upheaval people are going through and all that. But this is like shaking things up for us to get to where we need to go, because some people need to kick up the butt. And unfortunately, I don't endorse how it's done for each person, but it's just got to be done that way. And we're all going to get our butt kicked no matter what. But it's like, it's a mirror for you to see something bigger and take that, and then take it to the next level, if you can take that. And so it's, yeah, I can't put a lot of this into words. The way I describe it a lot of times, I want to get a USB stick and shove it in your brain and get that, and then like after, or first put it in mind, then go bang to you and go, that's what I'm talking about. Because with each vision, there is a knowingness and a feeling and all knowing in each visions that I get when it's communicated to me like that. It'd be like a book alone on 10 seconds of imagery.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I agree with what you said as far as it has to happen this way. Like, this is the way it has to go down. This is a conversation I was just having the other day with somebody who was worried about, what we're seeing with these vaccine passports and this and that, and just stuff that we're hearing about. And I was like, it's just, we can't control it anymore. It's out of our control. It comes down to us, and I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Right. It's happening this way because it has to happen this way. And that has nothing to do with me as an individual, and I have to work on myself. And that's not going to be my reality, because I'm not living that reality.
That's what I'm talking about. If like there's things out of our control, there's no use feeding it. I'll say now that for the last year, the amount of new people that have come to me as clients that have never been into UFOs, never been into conspiracies, is like mind blowing. Like so many people, which to me is a good sign, because it goes, all these people have woken up, and that wouldn't even be 0.0001 out of 1,000,000,000% really on what's going on in terms of the awakening. But it's showing me that people are waking up, and more people, they'll go through a bit of that fear stage, but then it gets to a point like you're talking about. It's happening, but what can you do about it? And what really can make the change is each individual making a change within them, and enough of us do it. It has a spider web effect. It has a like a 100th monkey effect, where more and more and more people just start waking up. And once we get to sort of a pinnacle point with that, the rest is child's play. We're going to take control of this.
Yeah.
We will have delegates of people that we all agree on to represent the Earth human race. We won't need the way the governments and the structures are now. And this is where it's going to be a whole new ballpark. It's going to be a whole new ballpark, and it's there if we can take it. That's the point.
Exactly. I can't wait for the day when the governments are gone, because that is only one way. That's one way of a million ways we could be living life on this planet. I mean, and they just have us confined in this stupid little box, and everything's, by the book, and we're all walking on eggshells, and, obviously
this system only works if we're asleep. That's the key to it.
Well, because it only helps a few and benefits a few. Now, we still need some form of like government and a new world order is what I say. People are like, what? Now, it depends what you want. Do you want a new world order that's draconian? Or do you want one where there's love and unity, but acceptance for each person being who they are? Where there's abundance for all and opportunity. Now, I'm not talking about a communist state either. Really, like when we look at things like this, and if we take all our differences aside, there's sort of like good bits and pieces in all sorts of, democracy and communism and this and that. I don't endorse the communism, and I don't endorse a draconian state, but what I say, there's little good ideas in everything. But if we operate one way, even in democracy, what you still have is you sort of have a prison that you don't realize you're still in bars, because it's limited to a certain level. And of course we want freedom and all those things, but I'm saying with anything we look at, that what I'm saying is there's not one way. And we've got to get out of thinking in the box, because what we're doing is we're repeating a war profiteering way, which has been going on, whether it's democracy, whether it's communism, whatever the hell it is. What we're doing ain't working. And we need to think outside the box as a collective and go, all right, what we've been doing, not just for the past 50, 100 years, but what we've been doing for a few thousand years ain't working. Let's find another way. Surely with 7 billion people and the brains that we've got now and the knowledge we've got in this day and age, we can come up with a better way to have abundance and people living their passion and doing their purpose than what the hell we've got going on now.
And that's
exactly.
and that doesn't stop collectively. Like this, you can take that down to the individual level and how you're living your life and your career or your job. Like I said, there's a million ways to live life on this planet, and your job, your career is only one of them. You don't have to do that, but you have to break that barrier of fear. You have to be able to make that leap and get past that point for new opportunities to arise. Otherwise,
it's getting out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, I did that.
That's what you're saying. Yeah,
I quit my job last July 17th, last year. And it was the scariest thing I ever did. I was there for 15 years, but immediately it was like there was a dam holding back all of these opportunities. And as soon as I made that decision and quit, that dam broke, and I was just flooded with opportunities that I would have never imagined. Even I couldn't have thought of it. They were just all there waiting. And I haven't looked back since.
Good on you. Really, that's really what I say to people is, for change, it's like people working a dead-end job or they're not happy, whatever it is. What's happening is they need to get out of their comfort zone, but what stops them is fear of the unknown or fear of security. What am I going to do for money? What am I going to do about this? Or I don't know what's going to happen. But what I say to people is if you follow your heart like you did, what's awaiting on the other side is not just abundant, but it's way more amazing than you can ever imagine. The opportunities, the places, people you meet, the things that you do. It's like in a million years, you never thought like where you are in 10 years from now, looking back, you're going to look at this and go, this was a joke. Like meaning I couldn't believe I'd even be here now. But look at where I am now. It's like, it's like where you are now is great. But where you are in 10 years time, keeping on this path, you're going to look back and go, that was great, but that was nothing compared to what I've experienced now. And it all started from that thought. It all started from that thought. Me, I never thought I'd be traveling the world doing anything. And here I am, I've traveled the world and I've done this, I've done that. And it's like, yeah, the human Pete's done it. But it all started, I actually left home, my hometown, 2013, 14 with $500. $500, drove to the other end of the country, didn't know what I was doing. And after that, it was like, I want to stay in this apartment, end up going nowhere with my life. And I drove to the other end of the country with $500. And it's amazing where I've gone from then. It was all from a thought. I sold everything I had, let go of everything I had. People were like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm just like, I'm doing what God is telling me to do. I'm just a vehicle for God. And this is all that's going to happen. And I don't mean like in a religious sense, but now I'm a vehicle to bring through what needs to come through for humanity. And I'm not a prophet, not a preacher, anything. I'm just another aspect of your consciousness. And what happened from that was amazing. Just like what happened for you. You quit the job and now all these opportunities line up. It's making that change, but it's scary for people. And it's just, as long as you're in truth, it doesn't matter. What's got to be provided will be provided, and you'll get some icing on the cake.
And my guides like that we're talking about this right now, because I'm getting a major bliss hit. And James actually taught me.
Too, actually.
James taught me how to connect with some of my guides, and Pleiadian guide in particular, and he has them give me a bliss hit or whatever energy they carry, so I know it's them when they're around, and it's the Pleiadian energy. It's something I'm very grateful for to have experienced with James, and it's something that it's like a new gift. I love it. I love being able to sense who's around, and they're happy that we're talking about this. Because they're
really happy at the moment. All the races have their own thing in their own way, but they're working collectively, those that are of the light. And when things like this are done and people are hearing it and it's just seeding thoughts in people's consciousness, they're happy. It's just like, this is how it's meant to be playing out. The greater family getting together from not just Earth, but from beyond. So, of course, they're happy 100%, mate. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people need to hear that, especially about the job situation, because that's the biggest struggle, because that's what keeps you from really doing the inner work, because your mind is occupied by this 40-hour job, right? And then you have kids, you have to take them to whatever, sports after school and this and that, doctor's appointments. Your mind
There's
is
obligations that keeps you stuck. Yeah.
Your mind is so consumed, there is no time to even research or watch this video or whatever it might be, or even work on yourself. And that's the biggest thing I realized whenever I quit. I didn't, the message I was getting was I didn't need to rush into anything. Take this, you're comfortable right now. Take this opportunity. You can now work on yourself and heal things that you would have never done if you had continued to work. So that's what I gather from that. And you can't even worry about your future career or your job until you're healed, because it goes in order. You know, if you really want to be on the right path, you can't just push this stuff aside and bury it and forget about it. You have to address it, let it come to the surface. And it might be a tough time. It might be difficult. It might not be pretty, but let me tell you, if you get through it, there is a brighter future on the other side of it.
100%. And that's where a lot of this is designed to keep people in that motion where, you know, when I'm in America and I'm talking to people and looking at some of the situations there as well as here and abroad, what you've got is a situation where some people work in 2 jobs and they still don't have enough to pay bills after it. Mm-hmm. The cost of living compared to the income coming in is ridiculous. There's no balance between it. People are just working to still chase everything. And that should be a reminder for people too, that we're not made to just come to this earth experience and work our butt off to finally later on in life buy a house, have it paid for, and then die in a retirement home. Mm-hmm. That's not what this is about, and that's what's been designed. So it's getting out of that. Has the temperature in the room dropped at all?
I feel
just a few degrees. Is there a slight breeze going on?
Absolutely.
Actually.
Crazy energies here right now.
That's the Pleiadian energy. Yeah.
Nice.
Me and James, I don't know. A lot of people experienced it with me and James. It's funny, like me and James will be sitting there and James will be like, the Pleiadians are just coming in. And like people are like looking at him like, what? You know, because they can't see anything. Or I'll say it sometimes. And then what happens is the temperature changes. And we're like, that's what happens. You can't see them, but their light bodies are overlapping our light bodies right now, and all the energy bands are coming in, and that's a physical byproduct.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very common. Sometimes you'll feel it heal the whole room. It'll be like there's a window open, and it's only a few degrees light, but that's what happens.
Not all, but you can feel it.
And sometimes a ringing of the ears as well. So there's certain ears with the Orions and Pleiadians that the ringing will happen as well, and things like that. So a lot of people aren't aware, but it's just funny because when I met James and we talked about this, I hadn't met somebody that had the stuff going on that I had, that when I described it and he was finishing me sentences saying this and that, and I was just like, dude, and he was explaining some of it to me as well. So he's been a very, he's like I say, he's like my brother, my father, and best friend rolled all into one.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. And it's really cool because you can like they're here, like letting us know they're here. But as far as even like the sightings that you have in the craft, like you can go and put that intention out and they'll show themselves in the sky as well. Because last night I was laying on my roof sky watching with a friend of mine, and we were looking at something, and it was like, she's like, ship or satellite? And I said, I always just assume it's a satellite unless it powers up. And at that second, it powered up so bright. Like we were just like, holy shit. Like it's connected. You're connected. It's aware of you is what I'm trying to say. Or they're aware of you even then, but you just have to get yourself to a place to where they can communicate. Otherwise, like you said earlier, it's like throwing a brick at them.
Yeah. And a lot of the time when people just go, oh, I just looked up and it was there. No, they gave you the thought to look up, but you've just translated as, I just had a thought to look up and it was there. That was the thought transfer. That's the communication. So it's even here, it's been great on the property here. I've actually got I haven't uploaded anything for a while just because I've been so busy, but we've had triangle crafts coming over and like tree orbs literally above the trees. I'm going to try and put a small compilation together later, but there's been a visitation from Shiji and a couple of other beings. It's just a beautiful environment where I'm at now, to where it's building the energies up right now, and it's just taking time working with the energies as well. But there's a lot worldwide going on, really, which is what we're seeing with the Step Up 2. If you've noticed, the news media talking about even more recent sightings than what had been mentioned with the Navy and everything else, like the armed forces. We're really seeing an agenda spun out to where what I've spoken about recently in terms of a meme that I put out in little pieces in terms of just posts that I do, I just want people to be aware that where we're going in during these times is going to be like the truth wrapped in a lie, like a burrito. You got all the good, you got the truth in the middle, but the outer laying story, the truth is, yes, extraterrestrials exist, but the spin on it, I want people to be aware, which is the wrapping of it.
Mm-hmm.
Be very, very aware. And I just want people to be aware, because if we've been lied to about so many different things, and sometimes these, we could say, spokesmen for the government don't even have an idea. They're just given something to tell, and they tell it because that's what they're being told. But there is a huge agenda going on here to be aware of, that if we were meant to be dead, we would not be here. 2, we're actually a food source for the lower light. And 3, I think what's going to happen from the way it's being revealed to me is that we may be told some fibs, lies around the truth at the start, but not long after the truth, the real truth is going to come out. It's going to shine the light on exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really have this sort of quickening happening, but I can't believe it. I think I've had like 40 news articles from multiple countries on different, some of them were overlaying the same story, but I'm like, this is all mainstream. It wasn't just, websites that got fake news. These were mainstream news and websites that in the last few weeks have just been UFO story after UFO story after UFO story.
Yeah.
So it's quite exciting, and it's good that it's military sightings. Some of them are even saying we shouldn't be looking at this as a negative thing as well, which is, I'm grateful for that, because of course we've got to look at both sides. There is positive, negative, tricksters in the middle, but it's great that there's a second wave. But like anything, when you start seeing this, it's getting ready for something, and they already know something, meaning those behind the scenes, and something's going to be revealed soon. And I just want people to be wary and to use their heart as their moral compass, their truth and lie detector.
Well, 100%. I used to be excited about like any government disclosure, and now we know, like you said, it's all wrapped in a lie. But it's still good. It's still good because obviously they're getting their ducks in a row for something, and we're ready for that. But I'm so glad you said that, because I see people who used to be where I was, and they'll send me an article or something like, "Oh my God, they found water on Mars." I'm like, "Yeah, if you only knew what's really going on there, So it's not so much for us anymore, this disclosure. And
it's for everyone else, yeah.
And I'm not saying that we're above anything. I feel like that it's for the people. Yeah, it's for everyone else.
They need stepping stones to that reality.
Exactly.
Really is what they need, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to nudge them in that direction, that because if you if they listen to this podcast and there's that's just woo crazy stuff, but if something like that comes out, a lot of people will perk up and be like, oh, what is this, and it nudges them.
Maybe for torture in Guantanamo Bay, they just play this over and over because it will just explode people's minds.
Yeah,
that's a joke.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If they're not into this, they'll be like, well, what the hell? It's too much for people what we're talking about. Again, it's not that we're enlightened or we're better than anyone, but if people haven't got experiences or knowledge or open-mindedness or seen this sort of stuff or experienced it, a lot of it's going to go over their heads. So that's why it's great having military witnesses come forward, because they're, they protect us in a time of war and what have you, and they're trained observers and what have you, and there's radar, above ground radar, there's footage, witnesses. It's great testimony, but we've had this going back pretty much to the Battle of LA and even before, which I think that was 1941 in LA, where there was that account, Kenneth Arnold, Roswell, going through all these different news of things, Maelstrom Air Force Base. We can go on and on. It hasn't changed anything. So why should we think that this does? But what's happening is we've got media these days. We've got the sort of witness testimony and evidence that will start making people think. And like I say, I don't think it's that UFOs don't exist. They've never really said that. It's and they've said that they're not a threat to national security, but it's opening up one's mind to go, all right, how are these things doing the things that they're doing, because it defies our physics. And this is where even talking to people in the know, meaning within the military that I've talked to and what they know, I think the biggest hard thing for them to grasp, meaning for the people, is, all right, not only they're extraterrestrials, but a hell of a lot of them are coming from completely places that aren't even in this dimension. And that's sort of what people are going to be weaned into more than an extraterrestrial civilization.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're coming from right inside the earth.
Yeah, or right next to us as well. Yeah.
They're here already.
Yeah. It's endless. It's literally endless. And I've gotten to a point where nothing surprises me anymore. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I'm accepting of almost anything now. And I should be careful what I say because, but no, you have to be. I think it's all possible. Like you said, if you can imagine it, you can create it. And I firmly believe that. I took a myth and legend class in high school that I thought was bullshit back then. And now I wish I would have paid attention to it, because I realized that folklore, that those myths come from somewhere, whether it was this dimension or not, or maybe at one time they were physical in this reality. So.
Well, that's where we can even create beings. You see this at Haunted Place. I've talked about this recently with someone where there's places like, because I've done a lot of paranormal investigation before I was known for this, and I'll be the bloke to call up and see what was going on at places and that. And we've just come across cases, people that I've worked is just generally, and just say the paranormal side of things, to where some places they haven't been haunted, but because there's been made up stories, they've actually created the paranormal events there. They've created a being in that place. And we hear this with the Tibetans through their practices of manifesting birds from other places, or even beings manifesting. I think it's Angagor, if I pronounce it properly, I can't remember how it's pronounced, but there's different names throughout different cultures to where through thought we can even manifest intelligences and create a being. And in places where it's been negative, I've told people to go in there, and even when I've gone in there, and we start giving the being a positive personality, and then all the negative activity stops.
Wow.
So that's how powerful our thoughts are. Yeah. And what you've got is a group collective over time. They're building the energy in a spot. So they hear all these stories that are actually made up. They're creating this being in there to make these events and to, rip doors off hinges, or to touch people or burn people or whatever it is. So that's where it's like, really, we've got to be positive with our thoughts and be able to light, and don't we want to be living abundantly and happily and having love and all these things and bring it in. So that's what we're going to do for us all.
And that goes with the darkness on this planet also, is our thoughts, we give them power by thinking that they're evil and telling ourselves that they're evil and they have these abilities. We're literally allowing them to do that stuff by having that thought. So, and it might have already been cleared from this planet, and we're just collectively manifesting it right now because we've been so programmed. I don't know, but it's something I think about.
That was one thing Shiji said before, is that we are doing something where the energies of the beings, the soul essence of who's here now, they're that strong, even though they've got amnesia, we could say, to a point in the body, that not only are we changing what's going on here, but we're also cleaning up the lineage in the epigenetics in the biological computer, meaning the human body. Because when you're operating from light and consciousness, you connect to the unified field, and past, present, and future all at the same time. So when you clear up the energy now, it actually resonates out and affects everything.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true.
Well, thank you for sharing all this.
Yes.
My pleasure.
The one thing I'm going to have to really wrap my head around is the reincarnation cycle comment. Because I've never thought about that before, as far as it not existing, because everything's happening at once.
Well, time only exists the way we think.
Exactly.
Because we're looking at it linear. That's the thing. So it's, believe me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around most of what I've talked about, even that. But it makes sense to me when it was relayed to me, because what's happening is, again, we look at things linear, and we hear not just Shiji, but so many different ancient texts and saints, sages, and masters all go, it's all happening at the same time. It's when we get a broader scope and we look at things unboundedly, we start to see a bigger picture. And it's not an overnight thing. So be kind to yourself. I've got to be kind to myself with the information, because it's like, some things we're not meant to understand.
Yes.
God understands it, and in that state we'll understand it. But some things we just can't understand the way that we're thinking. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's just what I tell people is sometimes I work out that some of the information is a lie that I've been given, but it's not like reincarnation. In a way, that's a lie, but it's not. It's a stepping stone to get to the next point.
Right.
So what happens is they give you baby steps. So it's a lie, but really it's not. It's giving you just, let's say 5% of 100% of information. But if you don't get that first, you're not going to get to the 100% mark.
Yeah,
You've got to get in little bits.
It's giving you the information that's the most helpful for you at the time. I feel like because what's the point of information if you're not going to understand it and it's not going to help where you're at? What's the point?
100%. How's it beneficial?
Yeah.
And that's the thing exactly. Is anybody opening up like this, what I say is look at the fruit from the information. That's all I say. That's how you can tell if it's real or not. Sometimes you won't get it. Sometimes it'll be nonsensical. That's when I'd say it's trickster energy if it's completely nonsensical. But is it about you being a better person and being of service and mirroring your own stuff, seeing how you can evolve, or is it the opposite? That's when it's negative. That's when it's positive. You've got the middle trickster energies. So it's just being kind to yourself. And thanks guys for having me on. I just hope this has been beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's so much I could add to that, but we'll we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. So real quick, do you want to can you let us know anything about your documentary and our release date or what it's about?
Yeah, so it's called Multidimensional, and it's got myself, James Gilliland, Mary Rodwell, Jason Gleaves, and John Vivanco in it, and it's based around my case and evidence. The trailer should be out soon. Like it's pretty much been, from what I know, it's like we're very close. The movie's been done for quite some time. It's just everything else. There's a process to it. Yeah. And it's going to be a feature film through mainstreaming platforms as well. So as soon as I know, I'll be sending it out everywhere. But I think we're very close to just a trailer coming out at any time and then a release date, which will be later in the year. But yeah, just keep posted. It's very exciting just in terms, because I learned a lot from it myself during it as well. It just gave me... It was some food for thought from other perspectives on me and my experiences and stuff that I hadn't thought about or seen before, especially with stuff like what John Vivanco says. He had like a team of 40 remote viewers working on my stuff, and it's correlated some things, but then it's like, all right, there's some information that's pretty full on that. I'm like, all right, I've heard it from them, but I can't digest it because it's pretty far out there, and some of it's not so far out there. So yeah, it's just I just hope people enjoy it. That's the main thing. I've made it really not for the UFO community or the spiritual community. I wanted to make it for something that any family, kids, adults, whoever can sit down and absorb what's going on. So it's done in a way that's digestible for anyone, which is how I wanted to do that as well. But there is stuff in there that I'm sure the UFO and spiritual communities and like-minded people, they'll get food for thought from it.
Very nice.
I love that. And it's actually so crucial right now. It's so crucial to make something that's digestible, relatable to everyone. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so real quick, let people know where they can find you, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah, so petermaxwellslattery.com, ecaustralia.org, and now jsanctuary.com. There's just links to social media for all that. So YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. So thanks, guys, for having me on. It's been great catching up with you. And I know it started to get late there and I had a lot here going on in the morning, but I appreciate the opportunity. It's been great catching up with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been amazing.
Absolutely. Man. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget that the 420 sale is going on for the next 7 days, 20% off, promo code JTT420. And we have 15% off Teespring with promo code CGI Joe. So anyway, thank you, Peter. This was a blast. Looking forward to everything you're working on, and we will see you next time. Good night, guys. Have a great evening.